Um, I'm grateful for that introduction. I'm grateful to be here with all of you this morning. I am a mother of three, and like Sandy said, I've been working for almost 13 years now as a speech language pathologist, and I've worked with all ages and all abilities, and I love my job. One thing I love about being a speech language pathologist is helping families and teaching parents and caregivers how they can implement skills to work with their children, because it's ultimately you who are with them the majority of the time. And that's why I think it's so important that we can incorporate what Nicole is teaching us to have goals for our kids, to learn from therapists, to incorporate what we know in our home environment. And so today I have lots of ideas and techniques that I'm introducing to you on how to do those things, specifically when you're playing with your child and when you're doing everyday activities and routines. So learning language. Learning language is natural, and babies are born with the ability to learn it. So all children, no matter which language their parents speak, learn language in the same way. And I think that's so important today, because as we join together from countries throughout the world, we all speak different languages, and therefore all of the techniques that I teach today will be beneficial to all of us. So the importance of play. Play is so important. It's one of the most important ways that children learn about the world. And when they play with adults and other children, they learn how to get along with others. They learn how to problem solve, and they learn how to communicate and use language effectively. And as a speech pathologist, one thing I love about play is that not only are they learning new skills, but language is one of the most important skills they can learn through play. So I encourage you to play with your kids. We all have different abilities and know how to play with our kids. One of the first things we need to do when we are playing is to engage. And what that looks like is to be on their level, to make eye contact with them, to be excited. We can follow their lead. If they are holding a spoon at the dinner table, and you could then pick up a spoon, and then you can use your imagination, and you could pretend it's a magic wand, or you could pretend to stir something with the spoon. And we can remember that we can use whatever we have around us. We don't have to have specific toys to learn specific language techniques, or to learn language. We can use what's around us. We can use boxes, dishes, like I said, spoons, anything, sticks, anything that we have, along with toys, to facilitate language. So another way we can play with our kids, and especially if we don't have a lot of materials, is by using rhymes and songs that have movement in them. I have a better slide for that. Here we go. So I'm from the United States, and there's a lot of different games I love to play in my early development programs, because it helps the children not only hear the same phrases over and over again, but they're also able to take turns. They're able to look around them and see what other people are doing. They can make eye contact. So when they're really small, you can use games like peekaboo. You can cover your eyes and play peekaboo. Or you can take a blanket or anything to cover an item, and where is mommy? Where is so-and-so? Where is the teddy bear? And you can make it exciting. I don't want to go through all of these examples. You can come back and look through them later, but I want you to start thinking about, what are the games or songs that you have in your culture that you could play with your children or with groups of children. So everyday activities. Everyday activities are so important, because they are routine. And when we have routine, we're using the same phrases, we're using the same vocabulary and words, and that will help the repetition over and over of our children learning a routine and then being able to use those words throughout. So just some examples I have here are when we're cooking together, when you're eating, when you're cleaning, when you're getting ready to sit down, you're setting the table, you're putting the dishes down, they're learning cups and spoons and forks. Or when they're getting dressed, they're learning the routine of the order of what they need to be doing, but they're also learning to follow directions and to put on their shirt and put on their socks before their shoes. Those are great times to facilitate language. Another really great everyday activity is reading. And reading is really important because the earlier we start, the better. It fosters language development. And something I wanted to really iterate today is that we don't necessarily have to always have books or lots of materials, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But one thing we can do when we're reading, there's I'm not going to go into a hierarchy. This isn't what I want to focus the majority of the presentation on. But one aspect of reading that I really like is called a completion prompt. And this has to do with that repetition that I was talking about. So a lot of times in books, there's repetitive phrases. Bear wants more. And they'll say it throughout the book. The bear wants more. Or there's rhyming words. So what you do when you're reading a book that has these repetition prompts is to leave a blank at the end of the sentence that was being repeated. So then the child can fill it in. And I have an example of this with my nieces and nephews so that you can get an idea of what it looks like.
That's not my monkey. Its tail is too velvety. That's not my
monkey.
Its feet are too smooth. That's not
my gorilla.
Its eyes are too hairy.
See the hair?
I see the hair.
I see the hair.
You see the hair?
Yeah, Teddy.
That's
not my monkey.
Its tongue is too fuzzy.
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy tongue.
Okay, so that's just an example, and we don't always have to use books to use these completion prompts. We can also use them in songs and activities. So one song that we're really familiar with is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So as you're going through the song, you can say Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And the next time that repetition comes up, you can leave out star or leave out little star and give them an opportunity to fill in the words if they're able to. I was trying to think of more songs. So I want you to think about different songs that you have that have a lot of repetition in them that you could use this skill with. I have an example of La La Tutu from one of our presenters and her children today. You'll see the repetition in the song and you can see where the opportunities are to be quiet and let the children sing.
Oh la la,
Toto la la, nakupenda, nakupenda,
mama atakuja,
nakupenda.
Sounds like two are playing. So that was just an example of a repetitive song that you could use. And then another, if you don't have books in your home, another really powerful way to foster language development is by storytelling. This allows the children to hear words, to hear the grammar, to follow along a sequence of a story in their mind. And a lot of times with storytelling, we tell them the same story, that repetition is there. So you can use folklore from all of our cultures. You can use personal memories. You can use family memories from maybe grandparents and their stories, and then common fairy tales as well. So those are all really important parts of reading. So now when you think about all the different ways you can play, and you think of all the different ways you interact with your child, there are 5 different techniques I want to talk about today that you can use during all of these activities. It's imitation, expansion, parallel talk, self-talk, and anticipation. So something important to realize is that while some of these are traditionally used with young children, depending on where the child is developmentally, where they're learning language, you can still use these to help facilitate that. We want to meet our kids where they are. We want to know what Nicole was saying, what their strengths and weaknesses are and where they are, and we can use these techniques with all of them in different ways. That's what I love about it. So imitation, it's when we use rhymes or any kind of hand motion to have a child imitate us. So in play, this would look like the itsy bitsy spiders going up the water spout, the spider is crawling up. Open, shut them, you're opening your hands, you're shutting your hands, you're putting them in your lap. And do as I'm doing, I have a song clip for you to watch. This is a little girl, she is 2. She has cystic fibrosis, and she is going to imitate the song along with her mother. Now, all of these examples I have with these techniques are just friends of mine who are not therapists. I just gave them a call and said, hey, can you take a video of your child doing this particular technique? So they haven't had lots of practice, and that's why I think it's so important that anyone can do these skills and it will help them.
Do as I'm doing, follow, follow me. Do as I'm doing, follow, follow me. I can do it high or low. I can do it fast or slow. Do as I'm doing, follow, follow me. 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 I can do it high or low. I can do it fast or slow. Do as I'm doing, follow, follow me. Do as I'm doing, follow, follow me. Good job. Do as I
Okay, so I love that. And I love that you're just using your hands. You don't need a lot of actions or a lot of materials, I should say, to do those things. So the next one is expansion. This is where you repeat what a child says, but then add to it. So for example, if your child doesn't have a lot of words and they're just at the 1-word level and they say dog, then you could say big dog. You could describe the dog to add more words to it. Or if they said soup hot, then you could make it into a more feasible sentence that sounds correct. The soup is hot. The example I have for this is my friend who is about 4 years old. He has a severe language impairment where he has maybe 10, 15 words. And so I have a little clip of our friend doing expansion.
Sandra.
Sand.
No sand?
No.
No brown sand? So I hope you heard it. All he said was no. That's one word that we know lots of our kids have, and I was able to expand on it. Now, this next video is called parallel talk. Another word for it would be like sports casting, when you're at a baseball game and you hear the announcer telling everything that they're doing. That's what you would do with your child. Now, this child is about 9 months old, but you could do it with anybody when you're playing your games with them. And so you'll hear this mom is going to describe what the child is doing.
Oh, you're picking up the red key. Oh, you're tasting the red key. That red key is plastic. Yeah. Oh, you're looking at it. So interesting. Oh, you're rubbing it on the floor. You threw the red key. Now what? Oh, you're crawling. Oh, you reached for the ball. You threw the ball. You dropped it. You picked it up. What are you doing with it? Oh, you touched Mama's hand. Good job. Oh, you're giving me the ball. Oh, you took it back. You screamed. My goodness.
Okay, so the next one is called parallel talk. What? That's what we just did. They're out of order. I'm so sorry. The next one is called self-talk. So this is when you talk about what you are doing. So you're making eggs and you say, I'm making the eggs. I'm going to crack the eggs. The eggs go in the pan. Let's stir it up. So that's an example of that. And then there's a video of a mom working with her 1.5-year-old feeding dinner. And she's going to talk about how she feeds him.
All right, I'm putting it in the chair. Here we go. And I'm gonna put the tray on. Good. You ready? You want some blueberries? Yeah. I'm gonna put on your bib. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm gonna get a blueberry. Here's a blueberry. Good. All right. Now I'm gonna get some yogurt. I'm putting on the yogurt. I'll give you a bite when you're ready, okay? Good job. All right.
Okay, so she did a lovely job. She was just talking about what she was feeding him. And I think what's really important is that it wasn't during playtime, it was during eating time. So you can use these techniques throughout your day with your different routines. The last one is anticipation. As parents and caregivers, we know usually what our child needs, even before they say anything. So we know when they are going to want milk. We know if we give them their plate of food and we don't give them a fork, that they're going to want a fork. And so what you can do is use anticipation to help give opportunities for the child to communicate with you. And you don't want to frustrate them. So let's say they need their fork. If we use that example, you give them a plate of food, but you don't give them a fork to eat with. And you have the fork. If they point to the fork, give it to them. If they make a noise and they're nonverbal, then you could give it to them. And then that helps them understand that pointing and making noises is a way of communication. So all of these techniques today that I talked about, just choose one at a time if it feels overwhelming. Choose one at a time and practice it, and then you can gradually add more and mix it up. These are all very doable and will be such a great benefit to your children and the children that you care for. So just in summary, the opportunities that we have as parent and caregivers to facilitate language throughout the day are all around us. And these were just some examples of things we can do with them. I know that these techniques will help you as you help your child and meet them wherever they are with their abilities. And that, like Nicole said, we want to reach for the highest that they can get, the most independent that they can get, and these techniques will help us.